For all of you who listen to Mackey's Second Floor Studios presents Submersion and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android device. I use the app and I love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure to set Mackey's Second Floor Studios as a favorite so you don't miss any of our new episodes. Again, the app is the Podcast Republic app, available on Android devices. As we learned from the crew aboard the U-96, things do not always go as planned, and for this episode, you do not have an intro where we're talking about things you don't care about. Let's get right into it. Dive, dive, dive. What began as an innocent conversation among friends would soon spiral out of control and later be referred to by future generations as the eighth wonder of the modern world. Mac East Second Floor Studios takes you on the journey of your lifetime as your captains, Alex the Mustard Man, the artist formerly known as Brom, Jamie the Brain, Kyle El Capitan, and Zac the Backbone present Submersion. Anyways, enough about sports. Let's talk about this movie.
So, in an effort to try to make it so that this recap wasn't so cumbersome, I split it into sections. So, I started off with a section called The Party.
Ooh.
And the opener was that the captain of our submarine is bringing a war correspondent that's going to be going on their travels with them to this party because they're on leave. And there's a whole bunch of people on the way
road,
there.
Man.
They're pulling out their dicks and pissing on that car.
And that's when you knew Jamie was absolutely in love with this movie.
And it wasn't even the only time someone pulled out their dick in this film. So
I texted
right
you
up my
as
alley.
soon as it started.
Yes.
I knew Mustard Man was all about this too.
For sure. 100%. And then...
I love dicks.
Right. Yes. And so,
all right, cool.
Yeah. So the correspondent's a little like... He's like, who the fuck are these people? And the captain has to inform that, it's actually the crew. And it's all a matter of course. We're kind of, I wouldn't say we're late in the war. It's 1941. So it's not like super late in the war, but you can already tell that like the Navy in particular and these submariners are like pretty disillusioned. And they just want to they want to fuck and they want to drink. That's all they want to do right now.
And not in that order.
Not in that order. They actually want to drink and then fuck. And they're at this French bordello, this whorehouse. And
the whores?
The whores. And they meet up with, there's another submarine captain. He's getting an award. A bunch of people are just getting super shit-faced. These people who are supposed to be like kind of high ranking on the submarine are doing all kinds of crazy shit. At one point, someone comes out and starts shooting a gun everywhere.
Oh my word. It got out of hand.
He's nailing, like, he shoots out the tits of like a painting. Like,
all right. This guy was absolutely hammered.
Hammered, right. But just
and then he was able to do that?
Like a sharpshooter. Yeah,
yeah,
crazy.
Right.
Well, anyways, this submariner, Tomlinson, he has some funny lines. You had one that you noted, which is when he's in the bathroom. He's like laying on the bathroom floor.
He's face down, in a pile of his own vomit. Yeah. Our captain comes up and peels him off the floor, and he just looks, he's like, I am in no condition to fuck.
Right. And then he also gives a speech where he kind of makes fun of Hitler a little bit. He makes fun of Churchill, but he also makes fun of Hitler. And it's supposed to be, to the war correspondent, it's shocking, like super shocking.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, we transition from there to what the second section of the movie, which I called Introduction to Our Boat, to the Das Boot. Because this repair's ongoing, and they end up going onto the boat.
You might hear that a few times throughout.
Yeah,
I'm currently drinking from Das Boot, and
it makes noises.
I'm not doing the best. I know you're supposed to like tilt it to the side when you're going, but that's kind of hard when you're trying to do a podcast. Didn't really think about that ahead of time.
Yeah.
So they're introducing the boat in a very cool way. They're showing the naval correspondent the boat, and he's never been on it, and they're giving us kind of just like a very fast walkthrough. This is this room. This is this room. Da-da-da-da-da. And it just keeps going on. It is awesome. And you really get the sense of how claustrophobic you're going to feel this entire movie, because this boat is tight.
Really small. And they even talk about how like some of the bathrooms they're not going to use. They use it for storage instead and stuff like that.
So there's only one bathroom.
There's only one bathroom and that's about it. Like, and yeah, everything is kind of like all over the place. They point out like the engine room guy, he's called the Ghost, and he's like looks like this crazy person. He turns out to be a pretty crazy person.
That guy is crazy.
Yeah, he's all crazy.
It looks insane.
It's probably how you guys feel right now.
Yeah. And then the captain laments how young everyone is, and there's this new guy who's kind of, what was he, the XO? I think he was the XO, the young guy who was the prick.
Oh yeah, he's a guy who came on board and he's like, I am a thoroughbred Nazi.
Right, they call him Nazi youth and stuff.
And Hitler youth, yeah, and you get the sense the rest of the guys on our boat are anti-Nazi. They're German, but they're anti-Nazi.
Yeah, and this is something they kind of talked about online a little bit about what was going on, because like there's a lot of books that came out afterwards that kind of had similar things going on, and we've seen in other ones, not U571,
Enemy Below.
Enemy, yeah. And a bunch of these ones that come out where they kind of have a similar storyline that goes along with them.
Yeah.
And that was like, the story is that the Navy was like the least pro-Nazi of all like the branches. And
really?
Some mariners in particular, it wasn't really particularly political to be in that branch. And so they didn't really care for the Nazis all that much.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take a step back for a second. You were talking about how young everybody on the boat was. You remember the Cobb, the guy who had the wife?
Yeah.
Now, how old do you guys think he was?
In real
The
life?
actor or the character?
The character in the movie.
14.
35.
14. Close. Oh, you say 35? How about you guys? Zach says 14.
Okay, I've read the fact on it, so I think I know where you're going, so I'm going to abstain. I'm going to abstain from answering.
42.
He was supposed to be... Mustard Man, you want to say?
30.
Oh, I read 27.
Oh, really? Oh, wait, no, Captain was 30. Sorry. No, I think you're right.
Yeah, he was 30.
Captain was 30.
And then Cobb was 27. And I looked at that, and I was like...
No way.
Yeah, no way.
That guy is not 27.
Oh man, I'm only a few years away from that. And so yeah, then in a classic submarine film way, they decide to do a drill. First thing we see is drill time, baby.
Oh yeah,
emergency drill, and they check that crush depth. And we've seen this a couple. I mean, it must be a ripoff of this because like we saw it in down periscope and all this stuff. Where one of the first things they do is like, let's test. Oh, we were not supposed to go below crush depth on this like drill or whatever. I think K-19 did it too, and they were like, fuck that. And the captain takes it all the way down.
It's like, do.
So right.
I'm not scared. Just kidding.
Wait, what? So they check the crush depth, which is one of our bingo marks.
Yep.
Mark it out.
Got it.
And so we get on to the third section of our film, and that's the first part of being at sea. That's what I called it. At sea. Just generally at sea. It's really our when them
like
going
most
crazy.
of the movie.
Right. But like there's these sections where they're really going crazy from just like, I don't know, just like being in the boat, being stir crazy of sorts, cabin fever.
But now they're all jazzed up and they're excited because they're on their mission. They're going to go to try. They're basically working on a blockade for English ships.
Yeah, they're supposed to just go out into the Atlantic and patrol and stop anything that comes through. Yeah, but
guess what, man? They don't see a whole lot of action.
They don't see anything. Yeah. So there's a couple things. A young guy has a pregnant fiance. He talks a bunch about that. He's worried about her because of the resistance. They're going to kill. The resistance will kill her if it turns out that they find out that she has like a German baby.
No way.
Yeah. They play a bunch of like propaganda or rousing music to kind of get everyone jazzed, which is more like the English marching song. He's kind of making fun of Germany again, but saying like,
oh, definitely.
They do it for their own. They do it for their own like pride or whatever.
They're doing it just to get under the skin of that pro-Nazi guy.
Right. Yeah. And then just otherwise, it just seems like hell. Like even when they get the mission, it doesn't change they want to sink stuff, and they don't get a mission that kind of tells them to do that. They just continue to monitor or whatever.
Right.
And everyone's just like fucking going crazy, and they get like little things like an alarm, and they hear propeller noises, but nothing ever really comes of it. And they're just like eating lemon. You see them just eating raw lemons and curdling milk and stuff, and they're just going crazy.
Literally just eating. I can't even imagine sitting there eating more than a tiny slice of a lemon.
No, they ate like 5 lemons. They're just like eating lemons and lemons. Yeah, they're literally going crazy. And so finally, they hear from a different U-boat that there is a convoy.
Oh yeah.
And that they could actually go after it. And so they go after it.
10 hours away.
Right. And so they go after it, and it's super duper foggy. As they head towards it, it gets like super duper foggy. And they kind of end up right in front of the boat. Like they were like, we don't know where we're shooting. We can't shoot. And then all of a sudden the boat's coming at them. So they have to dive.
Oh,
and
man,
they get
that's right
depth
on
charge.
top of them.
Right.
And
yeah.
one starts the beginning of one of many depth charge scenes.
Right. Yeah. So this is the first one. And they go to crazy depths to try to get away from it. And only by luck are they able to kind of like get out from under this destroyer for this first one. And so at this point, again, they're just kind of like doing nothing out at sea. This is my section called At Sea Number 2, where they're checking for STDs. We get scenes of them checking for lice and stuff like that.
Oh,
and crabs.
Crabs.
Yeah. And even the young Nazi has crabs.
He even has them in his eyebrows or something, right?
He's gotten so bad that he's got crabs up in his eyebrows and stuff like that.
That is nasty.
And so they're basically just all going crazy. And I think this is what the claim to fame of Das Boot is really getting that sense of claustrophobia and really how nuts it is when you're like in the middle of this and getting like depth charged and you never really know if you're going to be able to surface ever again. You're in this tin can that can kind of like go down at any time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
And so, yeah, they're really hoping to go after they're like eating rotten meat at this point and doing all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, well, that keeps going on. But anyway, they eventually surface and they run in. Well, when they get up on top, they see another boat coming
they
at
see
them.
Thomason, yeah.
Yeah, and it's him.
Yeah.
And our captain
the
is
other U-boat.
pissed.
Yeah, the other U-boat. So first they're super excited to see this other U-boat. They're like, Thomason, yeah, woo! And then like he pulls out his dick and Thomason pulls his dick. And they get real close. They pull the U-boats really close to each other and they just like quickly touch dicks. It was weird.
But I mean, dude, that's how it is.
It's called the U-boat salute. It's actually a thing that they needed to do.
Wow. Is that on Urban Dictionary?
Yes, it is.
If not, it's about to be.
But yeah, then he's pissed because it means that the blockade is all fucked up, right?
Yep. There's a giant gaping hole somewhere because there are 12 of these boats that are supposed to be,
and they're in the Atlantic. And spoiler alert, not small.
No,
yeah, it's a pretty big ocean.
Yeah. I'd say it's like at least the 6th biggest.
At least, yeah, if not the 7th.
Yeah,
or not the 5th. Anyways, so I call this one other U-boat / convoy because that's actually only a very brief moment because they almost immediately find another convoy to go after, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to go after this convoy, like perfect."
Mm-hmm. But anyway, the way that they were able to run into the other one is because also during this whole time they've been at sea, there have been wicked storms.
Yeah.
And they've been totally
huge
pushed
gale
off
or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they've been totally pushed off course. It's amazing that anyone can even navigate in any of this.
Right.
But they do find a convoy.
Which may be why when they find this convoy, it doesn't have an escort at all. It's basically just alone out in the ocean.
Right.
And so they were able to go after this convoy.
In time to send some eels.
Right. So they shoot
That's
off.
what they call them. They didn't call them fish. It was like, come on, guys.
Again, eels are fish, so it's fine.
It's up for interpretation.
Yeah.
Are they officially a fish, or are they officially a fish?
If it's in the water, it's a type of fish. I'm ruling it. Boom.
Confirmed.
Oh, okay.
So they get real. This is where they get really fucked up, and for the first time, they get really fucked up because they end up shooting off all these eels, and they hit two of the boats, and they're like jazzed. Like you don't even believe how jazzed they are.
Oh yeah.
They finally kill something. They've been out in this ocean doing nothing for so long, but they have to go down and they're getting just lashed by pings. They're getting depth charged like crazy.
Oh yeah, they're getting rocked.
Yeah, and they are going to clearly get killed. Like it's just not. It's like obvious.
Well, there's even a time during this where they think that it's done, and then all of a sudden, sonar guy's like, "We got another one right on top of us," and boom, right back in it.
Yeah.
So it is. Dude, the way that they film this, you get the sense of nervousness.
Yeah, they get a bunch of leaks. There's fire everywhere. Like things are really getting fucked up.
Bolts are shooting out.
Well, that's because they go way below crushed up. They go to 240 meters at this point,
which is insane.
Yeah, it's like off the thing that they're measuring with almost.
Oh yeah, they were wrapping their dial.
And so everything starts to fall apart after the next step because they continue to get depth charge, even though they're so far down. Mm-hmm. They continue to get depth charge, and they are sinking. They are straight up actually sinking.
But all the while, the captain is extremely cool-headed during this.
Right. Who isn't cool-headed, though?
Ghost or Johan, the guy in the diesel room. Dude, he freaks out.
Yeah, he wants to get out. He tries to get out of the submarine, which obviously would kill everyone. And they have to kind of like hold him down. And this is supposed to be something that would like end everything. And I don't know if he would have been killed or if get I guess he would have court-martialed and stuff like that.
He brings up court-martialing later.
The captain goes and gets a gun.
Yeah, so it's obviously not very good. And being in a submarine, I think it's like being in a space shuttle. Like if you have a freak out like that, like that's it. Like you can't.
Man.
So you can't do that. You have to be cool, especially he's the engine guy. Like he's got to be cool under pressure.
Yeah. We kind of need you to help this thing run.
Right. So then at this point they have another depth charge. They kind of calm them down, but like have another depth charge and everything seems like they're going actually sinking because our young correspondent, who's kind of the main character of this whole thing, he's been growing a beard. He's becoming comrades with everyone.
A man.
Yeah, he's becoming a submariner, really. But he kind of crawls under a bunk and like looks at a picture of mountains that they have, because he's like, I'm now gonna die. I have to like accept I'm gonna die. And he falls asleep or whatever.
And then what's he do?
Well, he wakes up and like everything's fine. Like everything's fine. Everyone's quiet, and they had just they were able to survive. They were able to stop the sinking, but they haven't gone up to surface yet. And so they go up to surface, and what do they see?
They see the ships that they absolutely destroyed, and they are in flames.
On fire, yeah.
And all of a sudden, you start seeing a bunch of people. And this is hours later.
That's not yet even, because they look at it, and they're like, it's on fire. It's been smoldering. It's been burning for so long, and like, we may as well finish the job. I don't even know if they needed to blow it up officially, but it seemed like almost like, well, we survived all this. We should destroy it. So they shoot off a torpedo to blow it up, and when it blows up, a bunch of people jump off, and they were like, shit, why weren't they rescued? Why are they still on this boat that's burning and will sink?
They had 6 hours.
And we can't. They had 6 hours to pick these people up, and they're like, we can't take these people on board.
Well, yeah, you can, because Captain was super mad. He's like, these people needed to be rescued.
Yeah.
But then they just back away.
They just back away real quick. Almost like the Homer Simpson gif where he just like goes into the trees or whatever, the bushes.
I mean,
it's like,
that's basically what happened. Well, not my problem. But it's not like there's any room on this boat anyway. Like you said, you've seen how close quarters it is.
It wasn't going to work, and they didn't have any fuel. They didn't really have much food either. Like even at this point, they're like, they have to go back to home port. They don't feel good about it, but they have to go back to home port. And I called this section kind of survival. It's really like,
you didn't call it Bear Grylls or anything like that.
No,
it's just survival.
But it seems super. It's like all of it is just surviving. Everything seems very ghostly at this point. I do think there is some interpretation here that they died in that first attack.
Are you being for real?
Well, because they talk about like, Captain says like, we live. Like, see, we live. He keeps on talking about how like they live. They're actually alive. It's like he's almost convincing people that they're alive, and it's like super ghostly. And there was no explanation for how they stopped the first sinking. It just was they stopped the sinking, and the guy woke up.
I guess that's true.
So,
but anyways, they get a radiogram.
Yeah, so they want to head back to France, but they get a radiogram that tells them not to.
Says, guess what? There's some hot action going on down at the Straits of Gibraltar.
Yeah, so stop and
you're going there.
Right. And everyone is super pissed. And why are they pissed? Because they wanted to get with some ladies. They wanted to get with some nurses and stuff like that when they got back to France. Yeah. Guess what's not in Spain?
Women.
Hot ladies and hot nurses.
It's a country entirely made of men.
Right. That's actually a little known fact. So I'm glad we're teaching people.
Sorry, Spain listeners.
Yeah. Most of our listeners are from different countries, so we just got to be careful which ones we make fun of. So Spain, get more listeners. We won't make fun of you. But yeah, so they're all super upset about this. Yeah. So
wait, can I make a Spain joke?
Yes, you can make.
Go for it.
I hear when you fly to Spain and you get off the airplane, the first thing to do is give you a blindfold for the women.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow, dude.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, Spain listeners.
Yeah.
Oh, my word. All right. So anyways, they start heading down to the Straits of Gibraltar, and our captain comes up with a plan. He wants to get Cobb and the naval correspondent off this boat.
Yeah, we don't understand why at this point, but he like that's his like main thing is like you guys are leaving. His excuse is that Cobb's wife is sick, which is true, and so he needs to go back, and the war correspondent is going to kind of go with him as like accompany him and go back to Germany because like you don't have to be, you've gotten everything you need. You don't have to keep on going with us for this next mission or whatever, and you can keep him company on the way back to Germany. And they're like, okay, this is like weird. He wanted to stay, and the correspondent's been like, you know, part of the crew and stuff like that. And
he's been making friends, especially with that guy who has the pregnant fiance.
Yeah.
He even goes down there and says, "Hey,
Heinz.
Hey, Heinz."
Yeah, it's not like the other Heinz we had in that movie that died like 1 second into it. It's like, oh, poor Heinz.
Oh yeah, I remember
in the head.
They kept bringing him up. Remember Heinz?
Heinz died.
What? Yeah. So he goes down, gets the letters. He's like, I will deliver these.
Yeah.
Right after I go on to some kind of fancy super yacht
and this is a super weird part of the movie.
Oh yeah,
because they go onto this yacht to get supplies, and they're basically meeting. It's like a German, you know, yacht who stays in Spain, and they're like super excited to meet all these submariners, like our true heroes. Of course, these submariners are like, "Fuck you guys!" Like, we're not here like to talk about the greatness of Germany. We're here to like get some supplies and go back into our hellhole that is our submarine.
You want to go see that shit that we're living in and we've been living in for months?
Like basically, it really is like you don't understand anything. Like you're here in your fancy boat. Come back to our boat.
You have a buffet.
You
have somebody up here serving you. Yeah. What is going on?
And they're talking about how like, oh, tell us some stories and stuff like that. And they tell some like funny off-color stories or whatever. And it's like, they clearly don't understand. Like, oh, isn't this great?
Yeah.
Oh, that's grand. The story you told us.
But anyways, these guys also think that the like little pretty boy Hitler Youth dude on the sub is the captain.
Right.
And they're like, no, it's that dude who looks tired as fuck.
Right.
And he looks awesome with a beard.
Yeah. So they basically tell him officially it's not gonna work out. That they're not going to be able to take the war correspondent or the Cobb off the boat. They have a very important mission, and it's a what's it called? Death mission? What's it called? Death trap?
It's a death trap.
So, anyways, it turns out that that's why he wanted to get them off the boat
because he knew, he kind of knew.
He knew it was going to be really tough. So, anyways, they get a whole bunch of supplies. Everyone.
You know what even makes this worse?
Yeah.
So they get the news that they're going on this death trap. And what's one of the things we see those guys loading onto this boat?
1 million bananas. We even get a quote.
1 million bananas.
We get a quote because they put the bananas all up on the maps, and they get a quote where the guy says, "I can't navigate on bananas. You can't do anything on bananas. Get those bananas off this fucking boat."
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
If you were starving and you were on a boat and somebody says, "Hey, I got a bunch of bananas here," turn them down.
I would actually still eat those bananas. I'm starving, right? How starving am I?
I like bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're bad luck.
Yeah, but how starving am I?
Really bad. Really
I'm eating
starving.
those bananas. What are you talking about?
Can't do it.
Well, but if I eat the bananas, are the bananas still on the boat?
Yeah,
they're on
the boat. They're inside you. They're not on you.
They're on the boat called Jamie's. Oh,
ooh.
Edit out that name.
Kind of mumbled it anyway. I think we're good.
So, anyways, he tells the crew after he got all this stuff that the plan is ridiculous, but it is going to be that they're going to dive. They're going to just float through the Gibraltar, the Strait of Gibraltar, which is super tiny.
Dude, I got on Google Maps and measured this. You guys guess how wide the Straits of Gibraltar are?
I thought they said,
13 inches.
Wasn't it like 10 miles or something, or 7 miles?
Go with that first one.
10 miles?
Yeah. 10 miles. Like, talk about a bottleneck.
Yeah. So everyone's like, oh, that sounds reasonable. Yeah, we could just like dive and then we'll just like slip right through. No big deal. Super silent. And so anyways, they start going through the Strait of Gibraltar and it's funny. It's like a charge, right? He's like basically like, charge! Well, there's all kinds of rockets and ships are shooting at them. And
because it just cuts to that. Because they're like, all right, here's the plan. And then, oh my God.
Yes, he's like charging into battle with like rockets and everything. And
it's amazing.
Everyone's like, what is he doing? Are we going to dive? Aren't we going to go in silently? Like he's letting everyone know. And it turns out this was the thing. Like there was no way for them to go through the Strait of Gibraltar. So it was almost like, let's create chaos and maybe by chance we'll make it through.
The version I watched, they hung out in the fog, and there was probably like a 20-minute scene where they were kind of like sneaking through it, and then they got caught like halfway through. And then
right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's definitely true, but it's kind of explained that the captain knew it was never going to work, that they were never going to be able to sneak through, and they were never going to be able to dive and go silent. Like they were always going to have to sneak forwards, eventually get seen, and then try to break through at the last
He said
moment.
they were going to use these surface currents, which would take them through, and that would mean they'd have to be surfaced the entire way, but they would be silent as a shadow.
Yeah, no, I don't think that. But in the end, they explained that was never actually the plan.
We definitely watched a different cut.
Maybe because like they kind of say explicitly like that the captain knew it was never going to work, and that the only thing they could do was go at it as hard as they
Interesting,
could.
yeah. Just cut to the explosive scene, it sounded like.
Yeah, because actually the plan in my version that I watched was dive and go silent.
No, they had a really long discussion about they were going to use the surface currents because that would take them through. The lower currents down, but beneath the surface would take them out and would actually push them out. They'd be going against the grain. They'd be using full engines. They'd be making too much noise, so they had to stay surfaced, and they were going to go at night and use the fog and try to navigate through.
Yeah, I did watch a different version, at least not the same actual movie.
See, this is the problem with
Version of it,
director's
but-
cuts and re-releases and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It screws up the
Nobody knows what
podcast.
we watched.
Because
That
I
was a
actually have a
great
whole note
scene. It
about
was
how
one of
they
the-
explain it was never possible. Yeah, it was never possible that they were going to make it through. That
I'm
was
waiting
what
for
I
Jamie
had.
to start talking about when they get the ring and they have to take it to Mordor. So
Right. Yeah.
that's the one I
that
watched.
wasn't in my cut.
Anyways, they crash dive in the end. I mean, he's up. The captain's. You had it where the captain was up on the top though for a really long time, and everyone's like, "Get in here," right?
Yeah, he was on the top, but
yeah.
And everyone's like, "You got to get in here," but he was refusing to go down because everyone's
No.
like, "Oh, it's time to dive."
did not have that.
No?
No.
Oh, see, I had that for sure. Because he was up there, everyone kind of came in and they were like, "Come on!" And he was up there, kind of like, "Yeah!" And there's rockets everywhere.
No.
Anyway, it's all weird.
Did not have that.
Yeah. So, anyways, they crash dive at this point and they end up on the bottom.
Well, dude, all right.
Yeah.
There's some pretty amazing things going on here during this whole thing. I even have listed in my notes probably one of the greatest scenes of all cinema. One of the crew members is freaking out and throws bananas and says, "I need a wrench."
That's right. Yeah, he does do that.
Like, whoa, guys, this is what we're looking for.
Yep.
Bigger wrench, right? I need a bigger
Well,
wrench.
no, and then later a guy asks, he says, "I need a bigger
Oh
wrench."
my
I was like,
God.
yes, double whammy. Come on,
Yeah.
this is what we want.
Yeah. So they went crazy. So they end up getting, crazy depth charged, and they end up going to all the way to the bottom. And this is where the actual thing starts like spinning around, like
Oh,
the
dude.
depth. Like they're way past, their needle has like broken off.
Dude, they bottom
Like a
out at
cartoon.
280 meters. They are deep.
And they're straight on the bottom, and the entire boat is like non-functional, right? So like everything's screwed up. They're not really getting hit anymore because they're just like kind of on the bottom.
Because
Like,
they're
Everyone
too
thinks they're
far
dead.
down.
they think they're dead. Yeah, everyone would assume that they're dead at this point.
You know what? In any other movie we've seen, they would have let up an oil slick and jettisoned some clothes right out of the sub.
Yeah, and what's the biggest danger at this point for them?
Dude, the batteries.
Yeah,
Well, they can't move. They can't move at all.
Yeah.
They're stuck.
The batteries are a big one, and the CO2 levels.
CO2. Oxygen is
So they only have a certain
running out.
They only have a certain amount of time. They got to fix a few things. One is they got to make sure that the batteries don't get water into them. The other one is that they have to replace these big things in the engine as well because the engine doesn't work.
Mhm.
So they have these two kind of different things that they have to do, and they have to fix all the leaks as well. So leaks was like the first thing they did. They were able to
Oh,
actually
but
get all
dude,
the
that
leaks
was
done.
like nothing for these guys. You
But
just get a huge wrench, wham, done.
Right. Well, you at least need a pretty big wrench, or at least a bigger wrench.
Mhm.
And they're going through this thing, and I actually thought this is a really good example of something that's like not a sports movie, but could be like used for motivation for sports at this point, because it's really about
This
a team.
movie?
Yeah, it's about a team at this point in particular. It's about a team, and it's about never giving up, because basically they're like, we have a certain amount of time. We're going to die from the CO2. We just need the Cobb, this guy who wasn't even supposed to be on this fucking boat. He was supposed to go home and go back to his sick wife. We need him to be like a hero and do it. And you need to not be able to give up. We saw Johan, this engine guy, previously freak out and kind of not be that team player.
Yeah.
And it's unacceptable. But here's the Cobb. He's unrelenting, never giving up. And they're like, at a certain point, we get a scene where the war correspondent is talking with the captain. It's like, it's not going to happen, is it? And the captain was like, it was never going to happen. And this is where in my version, he talks about how like we were never going to make it through or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was it. It must have been different in your guys.
Yeah.
But he talks about how like it was never, we were never going to make it through. And this was the only chance we had was like just trying to push our way through. And that's why I tried to get you guys off the boat.
But dude, Cobb is starting to shine.
Yeah.
He is working so hard.
Right.
And what do they think they have? He can fix it in like 6 hours or something, he
That's
says.
what he said, yeah.
And then it comes around to 15 hours, and that's when they're like, this isn't good.
Yeah. But then he walks in and he goes,
by the way, did it. It's done.
It's done. And they turn everything
Like,
on.
What?
Turn everything on, and they start moving there. Okay, blow the ballast. Let's see if we move. And they do. And they get the engine going. And they get up to the surface, and they float away. And they're heroes, sort of, I guess. They didn't really actually do what they were supposed to do, but they survive somehow. And they're going home, and they're like, this is amazing. We're amazing, and this is such like an uplifting ending to a movie. Nothing else possibly could happen at the end of this film.
Yeah, I know, because
So,
they're
Let's
coming
hug
in,
and high five and
have
just
some
do whatever.
flowers thrown at our
The
boat.
captain went around and said, you know what? I'll have you pull out your dick. I'm going to keep mine in
Whoa.
my pants.
Dude, take it easy.
And then they were like, no, you pull out your dick. And he's like, thank you. And he did it for them.
Mm-hmm. And then warplanes came in.
Yeah, so
and
they
shot
arrive-
the shit out of
They
them.
arrive back at where they started in France, and literally planes come out of the sky and destroy most of them.
During the celebration.
The end.
Yeah.
You enjoy life? Well, fuck you. That's what they said.
Pretty
Like,
much.
That guy who had the pregnant fiance, dead. I saw him dead. I looked for him. I was like, oh, not him. Oh, my God.
That's what I was, that's what I was
he's
looking
dead.
for too. But
Yeah.
at least
What about the
his
Cobb? The Cobb-
letters
no,
will
Cobb
probably get
survived.
delivered.
I think Cobb survived. He was
Yes.
like shaking in the
He and the
shelter.
correspondent were the two characters that survived that you would have
Right.
kind of paid attention to.
Yeah. Did we get under time somehow? Or is it not timed?
Not at all. I totally forgot to turn that on.
Great. We probably spoke for an hour.
Yeah.
Well, 45 minutes maybe. But yeah, that was the
Captain
full
dies
extent.
watching the U-96 sink into the bottom
Yeah.
of the water.
Some ways he was a metaphor for the submarine itself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
All right, let's keep this thing moving. We have been dragging it on.
Well, we've been dragging it on for other reasons than necessarily talking a whole bunch.
Technical issue.
So ratings. What do people want to do?
Let's just someone
Who's
just
up first?
jump out of the sub and go with it.
Ooh. Don't get shot by a plane.
So Brom, let's do a classic. You go first.
Oh, all right. Well,
Can't wait
guys.
to hear this joke. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, this movie that we watched, Das Boot. That's how Zach would start it.
Zach's like, what the fuck, dude? You just totally stole my intro.
Yeah, now I took all his material away. He's just going to go straight to his rating. This film, Das Boot. No, it was a very long movie. Well, first thing, obviously, I noticed it felt like I was watching a TV series. There were times I'm like, holy cow. Like, you could just end an episode there. I'll pick back up and watch another hour, knock it out, with this being over 3 hours. I do think there were points where they could have cut out a little bit. Strange that the version that I watched that apparently Jamie didn't have, they cut into one of the most entertaining scenes for me. I really enjoyed the sort of second half of the movie once we kind of got to the action with sinking the, not freighter, what was it? Whatever it was, oil tanker, yeah. Once we got there, and then the Strait of Gibraltar, that scene was awesome as they were kind of navigating like a shadow in the night, as they described it, through the fog, and then all of a sudden they turn. Go ahead.
The only thing I will say about that is it seems to cut into the version you guys had seems to cut into a little bit the idea of him trying to get the two people off the boat. Right?
He definitely wanted to get them off the boat. He wanted to get the correspondent off the boat, and he wanted to get the Cobb off the
Right,
boat.
but he explained it in my version. He explained it explicitly because he knew there was no way they were going to survive.
Yeah, he didn't really get into that. It was more of he just wanted to get them off because he felt that they'd had enough. And he said he told the cop that he I could see it. You know, he's been longing for his wife. You've put in the hours. You've done the work. Get off. And then he told the correspondent this was never really a place for him.
You've put in so many years of service. You're 27 years old.
Yeah. But look what it's done to you. It made you look like a 50-year-old man. Get the hell off this boat. But I really loved the second half of this movie. So I wouldn't want to sacrifice too much of the character building because that's ultimately what really attached me to this movie and what made it stick with me, you know, a week or two. And even to this point now, after we kind of watched it, it really stuck with me. I liked it more after I slept on it as well and kind of woke up and just like, man, you invested all this time into watching these characters and the torture and torment that they went through. At points, it almost felt like a horror movie. And you think they're out of it. They're at the celebration, like, holy shit, like that was awesome. And then they die. You hear the air raid siren go off, and there's a strafing run from the British. And all the characters that you watched and put all this time into get lit up, and just kind of touches on sort of the futility of war in some aspects, and really impactful movie. This is a tour de force of submarine movies. I find it hard to believe if there's a better submarine film out there, but I'll leave room for one. I'm going to give this a 9.5.
Very solid rating.
Very solid. I can go next.
Go for it.
Yeah,
I got it. Okay.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding, Jamie. You can go.
I really enjoyed this movie. I think it is a superb film. I think some people could jump on a little bit because it doesn't play.
Love
exactly
the theme
like,
song. Real quick, I just got to say, I love the theme song. That was such a haunting song. Really, it reminded me of something like The Godfather or Schindler's List. Just a really great theme song. Sorry.
Yeah. And I really loved the character development. I loved how it went through the whole thing. I could see how they could cut it into a much shorter film. I actually think what you would do is you would cut basically from when they did that dive where they almost sank. You'd cut that into the next part where they survive on the bottom of the Strait of Gibraltar or whatever. And then you just come up and go straight back to things. So you cut out everything all the way through.
Man.
Because they basically looked like they were sinking, and then they could end up on the bottom. Not really, because they're in the Atlantic, but still end up on the bottom and then make their way back from there or whatever. So you can see how it could work a little bit where they could cut it into all these different lengths of movie with how like everything kind of went through it.
Different folks, different strokes, man.
Yeah, I preferred this much longer one. It did not feel like a 4-hour film or whatever?
3.5 hours.
Yeah. It did not feel like that. It felt like it flew by. I really enjoyed watching it. It's nothing like Gods and Generals, for example, which feels like it's 5,000 hours long.
Yeah, it does. That's a gauntlet.
And I don't know. I think there's not really going to be much that we're going to see. I mean, I think people could pick on it maybe because it's a German production, so it doesn't necessarily have like the same. I don't know. It's not like a Spielberg film. Like it's not like it doesn't have like this weird polish or comedy to it. Like it's a sad film. It's a tough film to get through or all that stuff. It's not an American film. It's a German film. So like some people could pick on it and be like, oh, German film, subtitles, whatever. But, you know, I loved it. I'm going to give it a full 12-incher.
Oh, man.
What'd you give it?
Straight up to midnight. 12-incher.
Oh,
yeah. A raging 12-incher.
A perfect film.
To me, yeah, this is pretty much what I would like. It's got everything that I would want out of a submarine film. Action, drama, eels in the water, fire, wrenches.
And then bigger wrenches.
Crush depth, extra crush depth. They're on the bottom of the ocean, crush depth. Everyone dying at the end for no reason, really. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
We didn't have anybody take their own life. We have seen that a lot in some
No mutiny
movies.
either, but that's actually much more accurate, I think, to submarines in general. I don't think they'd be like, he's a captain. See that, Dick? Get out of here.
Goodness. All right.
And I'm ready to cut in.
Dude, you do you.
Cut them loose.
Hey, can I cut in? I'm going to cut in.
Hey, Zach, can you
can I
go
cut
ahead and
in?
cut in?
Can you cut in?
Can I say something? Can I cut in?
All in favor of Zach cutting in, say aye. Aye.
He's giving 1 inch.
All right, so we watched this movie,
1
Das
inch.
Boot. I got a lot to talk about with this movie. I got a lot to talk about. Sit down, fill up a beer. I'm gonna rant.
Ooh.
1. This movie, Das Boot, was funny. Had a good time watching it. Had a lot of laughs.
It's comedy.
But no, it was a film. It was a film about a bunch of people in a sub. I didn't watch it. I know it sounds like I didn't watch it, but no, it's
I feel like Zach's giving a book report on a book that he didn't even hear about until he got called up to the front of the class.
I got to tell you, some good-looking boots. That's all I'm saying.
Turn to the kid next to me. Shit, we present today. No, it's kind. I mean, Ben said a lot. Jamie said a lot. It was a long movie. It was good though. It was funny. There's some good jokes. You got the crabs, right? Yeah. That was funny. Mm-hmm. Microscope or magnifying glass to the penis. I liked it.
Something that really
you
resonates
can't take a
with
microscope to a penis.
Microscope. You know what though? Here are my complaints. I'm just going to jump into my rant. Movie. You know how I feel about older films.
This isn't even that old, man. It's 81.
Dude, it was before I was born. So,
Raiders, so you don't like Raiders of the Lost Ark? Is that what you're saying?
What the hell is that? No.
You don't like Star Wars? That's what you're saying.
What? Where was I going with that? I had a joke. I was going to talk about the diversity and that there's no diversity in this film, but kind of just ruined that. So let's just skip over that joke. I actually did like it a lot, though. I really liked the character development. It was definitely dark. I loved the emphasis on like the sounds in the sub. I thought that was cool. I was sitting there and I was just like, I can get into this. And then the scene, what was the one scene? The scene when they were jumping off the other people were jumping off the boat like on fire. That was intense.
Definitely.
And then the ending, it's like we're talking about the other movies this director did, like The Perfect Storm. It's literally kind of like the same way. They get like, you think they're going to make it, they're going to live, everyone's going to live, and then no, a giant tidal wave comes and they all die. So this, when the planes came and they just murdered them all, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. So what did I learn from watching it? Guess it's not it's no Mr. Limpet, right? It's not that fun.
Right.
So
yeah, that's true.
What if Limpet showed up?
It would have been the
Limpet
perfect
on the other
movie.
side, though.
If he would have saved it.
Oh my gosh.
Would have been great.
No. Limit's the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden they get a radiogram, there's reports of a talking fish feeding the allies.
Or Limpet the fish is just crying as the people are jumping off that boat on fire.
Guys, there's the idea. We need to cut and paste all the movies we've watched into one super movie and somehow make it all fit.
I like that.
Somehow. I'm just going to get to my rating. Ben, you gave it a what, 9.5?
Yes.
I'll give it a 9.
All right.
So what, just to be clear, you gave Mr. Limpet a 9 as well, or a 10?
9.5.
I gave Limpet a 9.5, which I definitely still found more entertaining than this film.
Dude,
This
Limpet
film
is so good. It's so
St. Peter will have something to tell you when you die someday.
I mean, I'm just saying, Das Boot's good, but it's just like...
It's no Limpet.
It's no Limpet, right? I mean, who casually just sits down and hey, it's Saturday afternoon. Let's put in Das Boot. I'm gonna feel good later. It's like the same, like you mentioned Schindler's List. Like, I'm just gonna go sit down and watch Schindler's List for the hell of it. I mean, good God, that's gonna take an emotional toll on you.
Underrated.
So
you got to plan ahead.
But Limpet, I mean, come on, man, crack open some wine, have a few laughs. It's a good time.
Yeah, dude. You could have kids around and just watching Limpet, and you're like, I'm getting all these weird ass jokes that these stupid asses aren't understanding.
Right.
I'm looking at my scores though that I've given out, and my highest one's still Life Aquatic, and I stand by that. I definitely like that more than this one. So solid 9.
All right.
Mustard Man, how about you?
All right. Well, I'm going to start off from the beginning and just say I'm giving it a 7.5.
Wow.
Probably going to be the lowest. I was originally thinking 7, but you guys have kind of talked about it and I thought a little bit more. 7.5, sure, I'll go up a little bit. But to me, just way too long for it to be.
Length, right?
I get it. He originally wanted to be even longer, or I heard of a version being even longer, and it's just broaching the point where just too long for a movie. Some things I did really like. There was, Zach kind of alluded to it, some funny parts, but one part I thought was really funny was at the beginning where some guy is talking about some girl that it used to bang or something like that, and the other guy, it sounded like he was getting off, so I thought that was really funny. I don't know if that really happens on boats or not, but
It sounded like he was getting off.
I sat there laughing at it. Some of the other things I did like the authenticity of some of the stuff. Like it was really cool. They had, I think, an Enigma machine in a couple of the scenes where they were decoding stuff. That was pretty cool to see. And Jamie, I think you've talked about that before. Wasn't your family involved with that at some point?
My grandfather worked at the place that they cracked the Enigma code.
Gotcha.
In England during the war.
So it was pretty cool seeing some of that old stuff. I get that they were also going for, trying to make it really feel like you were on a submarine during World War II at this point. I think they did a very good job of that. Very tight, just even with the scene, so many people crammed into it. It definitely felt like, if that's what they were going for, they did a really good job. A couple other things, though. I guess, like the captain, I guess he was supposed to be I don't want to say anti-Nazi. I just don't think there were too many captains like that during Germany. They were very notorious of killing people that were anti-Nazi. So, the whole thought of it being an anti-Nazi getting that far to have his own ship, I think is a little crazy, especially if he was that anti-Nazi. He's still going out doing his job that the Nazis are still asking him to do of it. I thought a bit of a stretch, but I don't know. And then one thing I also noticed, I didn't notice anyone do like the Nazi Hail Hitler thing. They all did regular like military salutes, and I thought that was a little different. Now, I don't know if that's 100% how it's supposed to be in Germany during World War II, but I thought that was a little strange not seeing it once.
The people on the ship did when they were getting resupplied in Spain.
Yeah.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, but that was it. Otherwise,
must have missed that, but yeah, didn't really see much of that. Other than that, I just too long for me to be completely entertained by it, but pretty good overall. I'm still going to stick with the 7.5.
All right, man.
Oh, by the way,
sorry.
I was going to say I do not condone anyone using the Hail Hitler. I just thought if it was going for authenticity, I thought we probably would have seen it a little bit more.
Really, you denounced that? Surprising to me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're very progressive.
Thank you. I also learned, though, that there was a similar hand gesture that the Americans used prior to World War II that looked just like it, and that people were supposed to do during the Pledge of Allegiance. I learned that.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Yep.
Don't try that at home.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah, they got
We're
rid
in
of
school,
that.
Don't do that during the Pledge of Allegiance.
Don't try to bring that back.
Hold on, let me look to see.
Let
Let me see if I can see what it was called. Just for everyone that's out there that was really confused or wants to know what it was really like, I'll figure it out. I'll let you guys know.
All right. I'll get into mine.
Heil Roosevelt. Heil Roosevelt is what it's called.
Seriously?
No.
There's no way. Okay.
Oh, it's called the
God.
Bellamy Salute. That's what it's called. Bellamy Salute. So.
Well, let's not bring that back.
All right. No. Yeah.
All right, I'll get into mine. This film was absolutely phenomenal. The length, I didn't even have a problem with. Like you mentioned, Jamie, I was sitting there watching it, and I checked the time. I was like, "Oh wow, I've only been watching this 2.5 hours,"
Right.
and I felt like no time had gone by. I was loving every single minute of it. I literally don't know what they could have cut out. I know you guys mentioned some things, but how can you cut it out and make the same film? It's phenomenal. The use of sound was incredible, especially when there was one scene where they started going after somebody and just this kind of like modern music started playing. I was like, ooh, here we go. The use of color was also great. A lot of times it was at, dark blue and dark green, but when they went up and we're watching that ship burn, everything was red, obviously, because of the fire, but just to see everything tinted in a red glow was very cool. I like the use of color in films. And actors were all phenomenal. I never thought I would sit down and watch a 3.5-hour movie with subtitles, but I did, and I had no problem with it. Character development was absolutely incredible. You genuinely, it sounds so weird to say about a film like this, but because, it's about Germans in World War II, but you actually cared about these characters in it, and you're like, that's a really weird feeling.
Yep.
But it was great. It's probably one of now my favorite war films, up there with like Saving Private Ryan and that type of stuff. This is a full 12-incher for me.
Very nice.
Yeah. All right. So just to keep it rolling, I'm going to give you some trivia. So this is based on a book called Das Boot.
Oh, how original.
Yep. So it was a fictionalized autobiographical account narrated by Lieutenant Warner, who was a stand-in for the author, Lothar Gunther Bunchheim, who joined U-96 for a single patrol in the Battle of the Atlantic. There was a follow-up sequel, actually, Die Festung. So if you like this one, Kyle, you could always read. I know you're not a big reader. Do you know how you've learned though?
Actually, through this movie and the subtitles,
Oh.
I was forced to go to a couple literacy classes, and I now know how to read.
Great. And so there's actually a sequel to this book.
Oh,
Do you want to read more about it?
what's the sequel called?
Die Festung.
Is it in English?
I don't know. We can find out from our local public library.
I really hope so.
All right. So in order to get it more natural, how everyone looked and stuff like that, they actually filmed this sequentially. So normally you just kind of film scenes that make the most sense to film based on actor schedules and
maybe
when things
finances
are
and stuff.
available and stuff like that. And if you're filming in a couple scenes in a house, but the scenes take place in different parts of the movie, they'll just film all at the same time. Here they filmed it sequentially so that natural beard growth and how pale the actors got were consistent.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they lock these guys away so they got continually paler?
Well, they were on that. I think they were kind of put away for a long time, or in the submarine for a very long time.
Dang.
So they actually constructed complete models, for the U-976. So it was a Type 7C class U-boat. So not only did they do a whole reconstruction of the interior, but they actually had a complete model of the submarine itself, which ended up being used in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
I guess they weren't informed that model, which they had leased out as well to kind of help with the finances, to Steven Spielberg. They showed up one day to film and the submarine was gone, and it turned out that was the days that Spielberg needed it, and they just weren't informed. So they got there ready to film, and the submarine was gone because it was filming.
Kind of a problem.
Yep. And then I'm going to do a couple more. So talking about how accurate this was with the Nazis, there is claims in a book called Iron Coffins by a former U-boat commander, Herbert A. Warner. He says that prior to 1943, when it was instituted that naval personnel were chosen based on their loyalty to the Nazi party, prior to that, U-boats were not particularly political in the people who were on it. And the U-boat historian Michael Gannon maintained that the U-boats in particular, not just the Navy as a whole, but the U-boats in particular, were particularly not pro-Nazi. So they were like somewhat anti-Nazi. They weren't super into it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I
that
would like
seemed
to
be somewhat
amend.
accurate.
I would like to amend my score then to a 9.
Okay, sure.
Realism was a little off. I did not know that. So interesting.
And then they started and ended in a port called La Rochelle in France, but that was not historically accurate, actually.
No?
They chose it only because it as a place had not changed very much since World War II. It would have made more sense to be Saint Nazaire, but because La Rochelle really wasn't used in November 1941 by the Nazis, and even at the time, the port was pretty much dried up, so it wouldn't have been a place that you could really have had like a submarine port or anything like that.
Well, I'll overlook it.
Yeah. And then finally, just to finish up, We do have a couple casting what ifs. This was supposed to be an American production, and so it was supposed to be this huge, big kind of event film, which would have been funny if it turned out to be that way. But originally, it was supposed to be that Robert Redford would play the captain of the boat. What do you think?
Robert Redford as a German, not Jeremy, U-boat commander?
Yep.
No.
All-American hero.
This movie would have been a
Sounds horrible.
disaster.
Okay, so then that was 1976. And then later, they attempted another American production. It was supposed to be Paul Newman.
No.
Famous for
This just
salad
doesn't work, I
dressings.
don't think, with American actors. Like
Yeah.
The reason this
So
movie's
both of-
so good is it's just so authentic.
Yeah, so apparently both of those failed mostly due to technical concerns. So the German production was
Really?
able to figure that out a little bit better. I guess they
Wonder
just
if they used
decided
Discord.
we're definitely going to do it. Yeah, maybe.
They did. Like, I don't know. We can't figure it out. Well, let's just talk to my buddies down at the pub.
Yeah.
Did you read about the camera at all that they used? For
Oh yeah. They had special gyroscopes and stuff. They built it themselves to try to make it so they could run through this tiny interior set, this replica of a Type 7C U-boat, which is very cramped inside. And so in order to be able to kind of run through this thing, just like the crew would have to run through it, you'd have to have this handy cam. You'd have to have a camera that you could kind of hold in your hands.
Yeah.
And to keep it steady, they made it with gyroscopes.
Because I was wondering when some of the shots, I thought, how are they even filming this back in that time?
And so to also continue with my casting what ifs the captain was portrayed just by a gyroscope? What do you think?
Maybe.
Just like they'd be like, hey, it would fit with Nazi Germany, whereas we got a robot. How about a robot?
Oh, a robot?
Yeah. Robot captain.
Done.
What about
Yes.
a bionic man?
A cyborg.
Yes.
What about?
What about the Terminator?
Damn it! I was trying to think of what it was called, Ben. The T-800.
What about Ed
Terminator.
Harris, though?
Ed Harris is probably the only American who could pull it off.
I actually think he does kind
No,
of fit.
God.
Face-wise, he kind of fits, right?
David
Actually, you know who I
Duchovny could
thought?
do it.
You know who I thought? Oh, I bet he could. Who's that guy?
That
you
guy,
see in-
that's right, yeah.
You see in everything. I think he's in that show Peaky Blinders. He's also in Batman. He
Tom
played the
Hardy.
Cillian
Scarecrow.
Murphy.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy.
Cillian
I love
Murphy.
Cillian
Oh.
Murphy.
That guy. I could
To
see
play
him
who?
doing this.
The
Captain.
Really, the
Yeah.
captain.
Mhm.
Dude, Murphy's the shit. I love
You
that
know,
guy.
if Christopher Nolan remakes this, it'll be Cillian Murphy and Tom Hardy.
It'll be Christian Bale.
Yeah.
I'm a submarine captain.
And all right.
Where's
and then
the
Phantom.
convoy?
Where is it? Where is it?
Okay, and then just to finish up with Phantom Zone.
Engage the Phantom.
Phantoms engaged, sir.
So the captain is the father of the German team in Beerfest with the Das Boot.
That's awesome.
I use that in the submersible episode for Last Resort, but I'll try to do something a little bit different for that one. So it's only 2 actors in the entire film that can be linked to a different submarine film. The other is Claude Oliver Rudolph, who played Ario, and Colonel Akakievich.
Spot on
Yeah,
pronunciations.
so yeah, he was played Ario and was also Colonel Akakievich in the James Bond film The World Is Not Enough.
Wait, he had the same name in 2 different movies?
No.
Oh.
So Claude Oliver Rudolph was Ario in this film, and then was Colonel Akakievich in the James Bond film.
Oh,
World
that's
Is
the
Not
guy's
Enough.
name is Colonel.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So then we've never used that one. Somehow we've used a lot of James Bond films. I've never used The World Is Not Enough. So in that, Colin Salmon, it was in Resident Evil Retribution, which is the 5th film in the Resident Evil
There's a
series.
sub in there?
100%. I actually double checked that one. As a
I
YouTube.
saw that
You can see
one.
the submarine. Yeah. Well, the submarine is like it's like a submarine out in like a shipyard or whatever.
Yeah, is that the
Definitely
name of
there.
the movie?
Yep.
Hmm.
From there, it's an easy jump to Fate of the Furious. Duh. And then we can just go straight back into that chain I made for Last Resort because I also ended up in Fate of the Furious.
Wow.
Apparently, all things that way lead to Fate of the Furious. It must have been Fate. Thank you.
Ooh.
the Furious.
All right. Are we ready for some more?
I think we are. It's time for some subs worldwide. It's subs world wide. So, as we mentioned before, this movie includes the Type 7C class. Obviously, all you submersionites know that I've already covered that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Because who wouldn't have? So I said, let's go ahead and take it on back to the beginning, to the U-1.
Whoa.
The first U-boat. There was only one of these actually built. It was built by, I'm going to murder this, built by Germania Werft in Kiel and was commissioned December 14th, 1906.
So did you say Germany Wharf in Kyle?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty good. Friedrich Krupp
Prove me wrong, guys.
Germania Werft.
Yep, Germania Werft. Oh, yep, Germania Werft. There it is. All right. So anyway, the U-1 was 139 feet, 1 inch long.
Meh.
I know. It's pretty small. It's not even as big as my Mercury Mariner.
Right.
It was powered by 2 cording, 6-cylinder, 2-stroke kerosene motors. Right? How many kerosene motors you ever heard of?
Not many.
No. And they had a total horsepower of 395.
It's not a lot of horses.
Not at all. It had 2 motor generators that generated 395 horsepower also.
It's also
So when they're submerged.
The bicycle that someone can ride to try to go a little faster.
Get on it. Speed on the surface, it could cruise along at 10.8 knots, while submerged, 8.7. So I would think pretty decent speeds for 1906.
Yeah, what was on what was it on the surface?
10.8.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good. Range, while surface, it could travel 1,500 nautical miles.
That's also very good.
While submerged, 50.
No, less good.
Less good. And this is probably the worst. Test depth, 30 feet.
Perfect.
It held a total of 12 people. This is also kind of weak here. For the weapons, it had 1 torpedo tube and 3 torpedoes.
Yeah.
But I guess you think about it, if you're like the first person, or I mean, probably in 1906, not a lot of people cranking out a whole lot of subs. You can just be like, well, what's that thing under there? Oh my God, it just shot something.
And 3 torpedoes, it means you can only crush 3 hands. So
True.
it preserves a lot of hands.
Well, it all depends on how many hands you can fit on a torpedo.
That's true. Like you could crush a lot of hands at the same time. That's true. I didn't think about it that way.
If you crush a hand with a torpedo and no one's around to hear it, does it even make a noise?
Okay.
Good question.
So this cost 1.9 million gold marks.
Yeah.
And
What's the conversion rate on that guy?
no idea. And this had a not super great fate.
Of the Furious.
Yeah. It was obsolete by the time World War I began.
Sure.
In 1914. And it was damaged in they just used it for training, and it was damaged in a training exercise. It was struck by another vessel.
Oh.
And so they
probably because it was only like 3 feet under the water.
Yeah, and they're like, bam, what was that? A speed bump. So it was sold back to the creators, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that again, and it was restored, and it is currently on display at the Deutsches Museum in Munich.
Whoa! I want to see that now.
Mm-hmm. The U-1. All right.
Only made one.
They only made one, man.
One of a kind.
Just
like you, Kyle.
Surely is one of a kind. All right.
You guys think I was actually looking up news?
Mustard Man has been on location. That's why he hasn't been around
Reporting.
reporting, right?
Yeah.
You could just report that Hunter Killer came out this week.
It did.
You don't steal from him.
He's compiling his notes this week. He'll be back next week to make a formal report, right?
I do. I am excited for that one.
Can anybody hear me?
I love it.
Good report.
Anyways, I did find one news article with a little bit of help from a friend that when this movie was actually coming out, when Das Boot was coming out in theaters, the United States was launching their own submarine at this time. It was called Corpus Christi. And interesting enough, there was over 1,000 protesters. There was 1,000 protesters there because of the name.
Wow, really? Dude, who would protest a sub?
6 of the demonstrators were arrested, and they also covered the police in animal blood and threw wooden crosses at them. So,
I just posted the link to the original New York Times article from 1981.
yeah. However, the submarine is still in the Navy, but it has been deactivated as of 2016. Don't know if they're going to upgrade it or update it or not, but for everyone out there, it is a Los Angeles class submarine.
Los Angeles what?
Los Angeles class
Submarine.
Okay.
1,000 protesters.
Out of all the things people protest, can you imagine? Like, dude, we do not want a sub named the Corpus Christi.
Think about it. This was 1981, so 1,000 people had to hear about this to make time out of their day to go protest.
There was
so people are passionate.
The news article does go on to describe another protest that was happening nearby in Denver. Supposedly, some auxiliary bishop of the Roman Catholic Church was wearing a cowboy hat, led a mile-long column, about 5,000 people who converged on the state capitol to protest the manufacturer of weapons. So there's a lot of stuff going on. In 1981, obviously the Cold War is in full effect here as well, so maybe that's something to do with it. I don't know.
Bunch of angry Catholics.
5,000 of them. Why would a bishop wear a cowboy hat? And this is not a joke.
Sounds like a joke.
I know.
So a bishop walks into a bar wearing a cowboy hat.
That's all I got, which isn't a lot.
Great.
So there you go. Enjoy it.
It's a classic from 1981.
Wow. A throwback. All right. Brom.
Tube 3 ready to fire, sir.
Commence the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Give it to me.
All right, guys, I've got a quick one because I assumed we'd be running long tonight. I have, we watched Das Boot, ran almost 4 hours long. Could have been a lot worse, guys. This is the top 5 longest movies of all time.
Wow. Here we go.
Are these major releases, or are this like including experimental
it's mostly
films and
art
stuff?
movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of them are going to be art films. Then.
Yeah. Number 5, The Cure for Insomnia. This film consists of L.D. Groban reciting his 4,000-page poem juxtaposed against pornography and rock music. Movie runs 87 hours long.
What
Okay, so
the hell?
Season 14 of this podcast is us breaking down every hour of that film. 87 episodes.
7 hours?
This is
87
number
hours.
5, right?
Number 5, it only gets worse, boys.
I don't even know how that can be considered a movie. That's insane.
Like, you'd have to have a medium that you could put that on, right? You couldn't fit that on like a Blu-ray even, could you?
Yeah, it'd have to be
I don't know.
segmented.
Hell of a lot of intermissions.
Truncated
It's your
or whatever.
birthday. When's
that term
your
would be.
birthday? I'm waiting for you.
Didn't watch. It was just
Come on,
described as X-rated films and rock music videos.
It was probably, you remember, it was probably that clown porn that you were given for your birthday a few years ago.
It was in 1987, which might
Nothing.
me?
No, nothing.
I don't watch clown porn.
Not a lot of people do.
I assume that was directed
Goth
at
protest too much.
Mustard Man or Degenerate podcast. I'm kidding, Alex. That was 1987 though, so whatever was popular in the X-rated film business back in the 80s.
Probably Bush.
I was going to say
Bush and
Reagan
mustaches.
Mullets. White snake jackets. Jean jackets.
Yeah.
There you go. Acid wash jeans. Number 4, Matryoshka. 2006 German film about a girl that eats yogurt, looks through a phone book, and tries to sleep on a couch to no avail.
What?
Movie clocks in at 95 hours.
What's it called? I'm looking
Season
this up.
15.
Matroshka.
Spell it.
Matrjoschka.
Let's see if this chick's hot.
Do the
Maybe
math.
you'll watch it.
95
Matroshka.
hours. That is an hour shy of 4 days long, guys.
Oh my gosh.
I
So
don't
what
even-
did you do with your weekend? Well, I only got halfway through one movie, and I didn't even sleep.
Number
You said this was 2006?
Yes.
Not 1970? Okay.
2000. Do you have 2006?
Did I spit-
Matroshka. Matrjoschka. I'll let you do
Welcome
some
to
more
the spelling
research.
cast.
Yeah.
Number 3, Cinematon, French film from 1984, consists of 2,865 silent segments of minor events in different people's lives. Each segment is 3 minutes, 25 seconds long. Do the math. We got 191 hours.
Oh my gosh. And that's only the third longest?
Only the third longest.
Wow.
It's going to be hard to do for our podcast, but I think we can do it.
Number 2, Modern Times Forever, 2001 art film, I guess you'd call it, is a project that documents the projected deterioration of a building over the next several thousand years. The film was debuted as a projection onto the building itself in Helsinki, Finland. Runs 10 solid days, 240 hours.
Now, that's the first one I would say. That is not an actual film.
Right. It's just a time lapse.
It's
a
just
simulated
it's
time
really
lapse.
something you're just like projecting onto a building.
Wait, so they
There's
projected this.
There's no
this-
narrative structure to that.
Is it the same image on the building itself, or did they actually put down like a screen over the front of the building?
I think it was on the facade of the building, that kind of a blank, featureless facade of the building. They projected, I think they said it was 40 meter screen, basically.
Wow.
For the projection. But number 1, this one actually sounds interesting. Like I would duck in and check on it every now and again.
Yeah.
Is Logistics, a 2012 Swedish film that was recorded in real time and documents the fabrication of a pedometer and tracks it from the factory floor to the eventual sale on the store shelf as it watches basically the device and the packaging and basically stares at it until it's sold. It ran 857 hours, nearly 36 days.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Now it was like 25 days of this. It's just sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, I think a large chunk, the review I saw said it was on a shipping container for a significant portion of the video. But yeah, that is the top 5 longest movies of all time.
That's too bad because I feel like what should have been on there was that experiment that Shia LaBeouf did where he edited all his films together into one long movie and then watched it in a theater for like 26 hours, but I don't think it would even make the list.
He did that?
Yeah, he did that. And he also had made a video of himself watching it the whole time.
Yeah, there's a live stream. I checked in on it a couple times.
What?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
recently was this?
I don't know. It was like a year ago or something.
Kyle, he's an
couple
artist,
years ago.
man. Come on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was great.
I like the stuff he's in.
Transformers 3.
Yep.
We're into it.
Whatever. All right.
Did somebody say reboot?
Oh.
Buff's back. All right.
What do we got?
For what?
Some sweet succulent Zac Facts.
Oh.
I actually thought for a second I thought it was kicking in, like the actual theme song.
No, don't worry, man. You gotta let people hang on a little bit before they get a taste of that.
Zac Facts, it's Zac Facts. When you're going down, get some Zac Facts when you're going down.
Did someone say, don't forget to wrap a boot on it? We watched Das Boot.
Okay.
That was a condom joke, by the way.
We got it.
So we got some Zac Facts for you, for all you Das Booty fans out there. Let's go with fact number 1. This is one of my favorites. One of my favorite facts. Wolfgang Peterson, he was married twice. Did you guys know this? Did you hear about that?
No, I
two
didn't
wives.
hear about this.
Apparently he pissed off his first wife, though, because Wolfgang Peterson's first wife was mad. So she came on to this. She came on. Wolfgang Peterson's first wife was really mad. So she. It's not even that funny. For some reason, it cracks my shit up.
Laughing at his own joke.
It's just like a setup joke. It's just like such a setup joke.
Just cut all this out.
Guys, you hear about this like Wolfgang Peterson's like first wife?
Right.
Let me tell you about her.
I think my own stupid buildup made it funnier to myself. Wolfgang Peterson's first wife, she was really pissed off. So she went on set and had sex with everyone on set as payback for their divorce.
Right, that's even that funny.
Payback? I don't know. She did it.
Sex with everybody.
Except him, of course.
You watch this.
Great.
God, I don't know why that was so funny. Fact number 2. As we all know, one of the funniest scenes in the movie I talked about was the crab scene. That's a STD, STI.
It's also something that it has in common with Mr. Limpet, right?
Crab.
Yeah, the funniest scene is the crab scene.
There's crabs in those movies, yes. Fact number 2, cases of crabs increased by 400% after this movie was released. It might be related. Fact.
I believe it, man.
Yeah. Clamoring for those crabs after this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, did you guys hear about crabs in Das Boot?
It became like real hip. So you'd come out and you'd have your crabs in those eyebrows. It got real like advanced case and people would be like, oh shit, look at that.
So hot. He's got crabs.
He's real cool now.
It spawned the saying, that saying everybody knows, wow, your sub's got crabs on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Subway came out with a crab sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah. The foot-long crabby sub with extra crab.
You want a foot-long crab?
That's actually a really good Zac Fact.
Yeah.
You should have saved it for him.
All right. This film, fact number 3, this film resulted in many women being bored.
I could believe it, man.
You know how they are with war movies. All
When
right.
I told my wife I was sitting down watching a movie this long, she looked at me like, what
We're
the
divorced.
fuck are you
No.
doing with your life? You said we're getting a divorce.
Yeah.
This is what you do with your time.
Last fact. Here we go. I always like doing these. These crack me up. So there was a porn parody of Das Boot. Did you guys hear about this? It's called Das Bootylicious Ass Play in a Sub.
With a sub?
What's that?
With a sub?
In a sub.
Oh.
Oh,
Great.
Oh, my word.
there you go.
That is something, man.
I do enjoy them.
I did find another news article if you guys want to hear it real quick.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
The last World War II U-boat commander died at age 105.
Oh,
He died.
Oh, that is big
It's almost
news.
as old as Kyle is.
He died in June of 2018. Claimed he was never a Nazi, just did his duty for his country, not for Hitler. So,
Ooh.
what a fucking hero.
Thanks for listening to Submersion. Find us on SoundCloud and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Can't get enough of us? Don't forget to subscribe for new episodes every Thursday. And if you like what you heard, please go ahead and give us a rating.